I'm a woman who has done a great wrong to the man. I've been dating for 5 years. What happened, you asked? I had an affair with my soon-to-be father-in-law. With just 3 days left until our wedding, I intend to push through with it. I'm sharing this secret with you in this anonymous channel. I was born the only daughter of a wealthy household. My brother was a model student and our parents, thanks to the generosity of both sets of grandparents, lived very affluently. When I was young, my parents would immediately fulfill any of my desires. Once, I mentioned wanting to learn the cello, so they provided a high-quality cello and a skilled teacher. When I wanted to ski in the winter, they took me to a ski resort for several weeks. When I expressed a desire to learn pool, they bought a pool table for our second floor. Of course, we have a ping pong table too. My parents have also generously supported my brother, so there wasn't anything we hadn't learned. Additionally, they took out good insurance and pensions, setting up a foundation that would let us live comfortably even without jobs. During all this, a high school student caught my eye. After entering college and joining a club, I met a handsome senior. He was popular among the female students. I went to the club room every day, wearing nice clothes and heavy makeup to catch his eye. One day, during a club gathering, I drank too much and was throwing up when he came over and took care of me without a word. It was very embarrassing, but having a good-looking person do something difficult for me made me feel more attracted to him. According to his friends, despite his popularity, he had never dated anyone. But seeing him take care of me when I was drunk and throwing up, they thought maybe he had feelings for me and encouraged me to give it a shot. I was looking for an opportunity. A lot of students came to our club's membership training. Our club had more female members than male, probably because many of the women had joined to see the handsome senior. We went to Des Hongrie for the meet and were divided into teams for games. Luckily, I ended up on the same team as the senior and sat next to him, enjoying a great time. I subtly brushed against his sleeve a few times, and I cannot forget the feeling, even now. We had a good time playing games, eating and drinking, and one by one, the drunken people started going to sleep. Like my mother, I'm a strong drinker. The senior was too. The two of us stayed up until the end, exchanging stories about everything from our parents to our school lives. The conversation never stopped, and it was great. Then, looking at me, he said, "Let's date. I've been watching you." I was so happy. From that day, we became an official couple and were the envy of all the female members of the club. The senior had everything. His hometown was in the countryside, but his parents had bought him a two-room apartment near school where he lived alone. We enjoyed our dates at his place. He was very clean in his personal life. He gave me the door lock code, saying I could come over anytime. I would stop by his place to clean up and prepare the dishes I was good at. After graduating from college, he moved near his workplace. And 2 years later, I was also able to find a job near his office. The senior had a flower basket delivered to my office on my first day at work, amid such a sweet romance. My senior, who seemed like he would protect me forever, proposed. Now that we both were working, he wanted to start a family. He also said that he wanted to spend the night together. As someone who valued premarital purity, I was conflicted about his words. But I was ready to trust and follow him no matter what. That day, we became one at his house. The first time was difficult, but after that, we naturally engaged in the act, all the while taking precautions against pregnancy. One day, I heard that his parents were coming up. We booked a restaurant and greeted them. His father was very gentle and gentlemanly. We completed the greetings in a good atmosphere, introduced the senior to our parents, and were able to prepare for the wedding without any problems. One day, after finishing work at the company, I was preparing dinner at the senior's house. But the doorbell rang, and when I said, "Just come in," "Why are you ringing the bell all of a sudden?" The doorbell kept ringing. I thought it was strange and went out to see that the senior's father had come, but the atmosphere was strange. His father was heavily drunk and said when he came into the house, "Daughter-in-law, you know, I'm James's stepfather, right? When James was 7, he was living a very hard life. I remarried with James' mother and worked for the two of us. James was very good and lived right. Please take care of him from now on." I invited him to have dinner and leave. The senior had never mentioned that he grew up under his stepfather. When the senior came home from work and saw his stepfather, he didn't seem particularly surprised. Watching carefully, their relationship seemed really good. After that, his father would sometimes stay at the senior's house when he had appointments in Seoul. I went home after having dinner at the senior's room more than twice a week. One summer day, it was raining, the weather was humid, and I wasn't feeling great. So I was taking a shower when his father came home. I quickly wrapped my body in a towel and greeted his father. His father didn't say much. He brought some packaged beef soup, put it down, and was about to leave. I quickly got dressed and set up dinner. Then the senior suddenly had a company dinner, and I had an awkward dinner with his father. His father said he never thought that James wasn't his child while raising him. He even had a vasectomy for fear that James would be hurt. I was moved by such a stepfather. His father poured me a drink, and as we drank, his father got drunk first. I laid his father down in the senior's room and came out, and he held my hand. He said he wanted to talk more, so I sat at the end of the bed. In fact, his father said that his wife went to heaven when they were newlyweds. He knew she was sick when he married her, but he didn't think she would go so quickly, and sometimes he missed his ex-wife. The stepmother, who I thought could never leave first, tried to stay healthy. My father-in-law, a man of great care and consideration, assured me that James would also make a good husband, just like him. Yet, in his 60s, he shed tears as he confessed to missing his first wife. Seeing his tears, I couldn't help but feel his sadness. I held his hand, trying to offer some comfort, moved by his pure heart. He felt embarrassed showing such a side to his daughter-in-law, but he couldn't express his feelings in front of his remarried wife. I told him that even though I can't fully understand his feelings, I believe that James was able to grow up well under a good father like him, and that I will respect and care for him after our marriage. However, a week before the wedding, we had a huge fight. We had had small disagreements before, but we always resolved them quickly. The fight was over the master of ceremonies for the wedding, and we almost called off the wedding because we couldn't agree. We knew we shouldn't, but we couldn't let go of our stubbornness. After the fight with James, our routine of having dinner at his house after work was broken. That day, his father knew we had a problem and contacted us. He took me out for a meal and encouraged us to make up and be a good couple. I felt emotional as I shared our marriage, preparations, and minor quarrels with him. He suggested we go to the newlyweds' house and have a drink. I agreed, and we had various conversations. He comforted me, saying that there would be more fights in married life, but to understand and resolve issues. I felt a warmth in his gaze, but also a sense of lingering regret. I ended up having an affair with him. It was a different feeling than with James. I knew it was wrong, but I wanted to see him more. He always took good care of his health, never consuming anything unhealthy. He had taken great care of his health out of regret for sending his first wife to heaven. I wondered where else you could find a bride like me, who had slept with such a caring father-in-law. I guess my heart had been swayed by his thoughtfulness. What should I do now? The wedding is in 3 days. He said we should take our secret to the grave, but my guilt is overwhelming. However, I don't have the courage to call off the wedding, and I don't have any thoughts of ending the relationship with him. I plan to meet with him, dreaming of a perfect crime. You can call me selfish, I can't help it. Thank you so much for listening to my story.